I know he speaks fluent Jerry Jones. So let's decide for the comments. Tim Cowlishaw from the Dallas Morning News and also from Around the Horn back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Tim?
I'm good. It's hard to speak fluent, Jerry. I've been trying for 30 years, but it's a difficult language.
So interpret his comments post-game for us, please.
Well, these weren't that difficult. I mean, it's funny that a 4-point loss to the Patriots is where he sounds most damaging towards Jason's future chances. Not a loss to the Jets, not a loss at home to the Packers where Aaron Rodgers didn't have any receivers, but this game. But I mean, I think it was a culmination. And the plays you just talked about, the Tony Pollard one on the kickoff is the one that I think frustrates him, and that's really the one that's about coaching. Because you can debate the 4th and 7 decision. I didn't think that was that terrible, given that you've just gone incomplete on 2nd and 7 and 3rd and 7. But I understand, you're down there, and I understand the argument. Excuse me, argument for getting the touchdown. But Belichick watches his guy Matt Patricia play. He watches the Detroit tape from last week, and Detroit with vastly inferior players, but the same approach as the Patriots. And he sees Pollard dropping a kickoff at the 10. Not really good at handling that. That's indoors in Detroit. So they're going to try to mess with him in the weather, and the Cowboys are completely unprepared for it. And I think that's what Jones was talking about is special teams is coaching. And one team was fully coached and prepared, and the other one went there hoping to get a win.
Well, I think maybe, and again, you're right. I mean, again, this defense is maybe one of the best defenses we've ever seen. That's a fact. And the place where they're playing is one of the toughest road venues to win in that maybe we've ever seen. This is now 20 straight wins for the Patriots in Gillette, including playoffs. But this is the litmus test, right? This is the litmus test of a team that will have to be somewhat reconfigured in the whole there is more pie, there is less pie front when Dak does eventually get either franchise tagged or signed long term. The window is closing with 5 more regular season games, and maybe he just saw it right there in person in front of him that a game that was winnable when it all came down to it was not because of decision-making and preparedness, Tim.
Yeah, I think that all goes into it. I just think they look that way on a regular basis. Jason Garrett was asked today, this morning, I guess, about does he talk to anybody about win probabilities and use those stats. And he said, no, we don't do that in a game. Well, you probably read that story about John Harbaugh has a 25-year-old win probability expert sitting in the press box next to the offensive coordinator telling him on those downs what works and what the percentages are. But that's so not Garrett to do things like that. He desperately wants to be an old-school football coach coming from his dad who was a scout, and he doesn't want to I've written before about the Princeton side of his personality is like Spock, and he wants to shove that aside and just be a football guy and doesn't want to hear about analytics and doesn't want to hear about numbers and probability. And sometimes those things teach you a lot in the middle of a game, and Cowboys have no clue about all that.
So what do you think Jerry's going to do, Tim?
I don't think anything immediate. I know there's people thinking – like they thought a couple weeks ago, they lose to Buffalo and he's going to do it Friday. And I don't think there's anybody natural to promote. I don't think the shine on Chris Richard is that bright right now. So, I mean, I think it's always going to come down to the playoffs. Look, the Cowboys might go 8-8 and win the division. You saw the Eagles yesterday. If they go 9-7, they're almost certainly going to win the division and get a home playoff game. But then they got to beat San Francisco or Seattle probably at home, and then they got to go win on the road to get to that elusive NFC championship. And it's hard to see that happening, so I think we will have a coaching change.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.